On the property show today, project potential in Noida Extension. Also on the show, Bangaluru's infrastructure woes. And your property queries. Tonight at 11 on NDTV Profit.
The Property Show, presented by Puruvankara, the pioneers of community living. In association with IndiaProperty.com, the best place to buy new property.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV Profit.
Like Showbiz. Well, we have a very special treat for you today. It's the last time that Gotham City's Cape Crusader will don on his suit and the Dark Knight will rise. We're talking about the epic trilogy of Batman series that is coming to an end, and the excitement is bursting out to see how he will fight his ultimate enemy. So today on No Biz Like Showbiz, we take a look at the business behind the Batman franchise that has captivated the global audiences.
A city on the brink of caving in, a Cape Crusader, a masked vigilante, enemies that test his limits, and a love that is lost before it's found.
You once told me that we'd be together. Did you mean it?
Bruce, don't make me your only hope for normal life.
A story by Bob Kane and Bill Finger, scripted in 1939, which has been told over and over since, first in comic book form, then on television, and also on the silver screen. But it took this one movie and this man to create a cult superhero and a script a billion-dollar Hollywood success.
The challenge really in coming back to Gotham City is giving the audience a reason to come back with you to Gotham City. And we had to really know that we'd cracked what that needed to be and why we needed to tell that.
It was in 2005 when Christopher Nolan's rebooted vision for Batman hit the screens and got a lot of attention. Its sequel was edgy and exciting. The Dark Knight recreated Batman's box office magic in 2008. With Warner Brothers finally reaping the benefit of their effort to keep the Batman saga alive for over 20 years.
So what are you proposing?
It's simple. Kill the Batman.
A series Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher could have only just dreamt about. While The Dark Knight crossed over $1 billion worldwide collection, raking in $500,000 in the US itself. Now that was 18% of the total US box office for that year. But one can't resist comparing this to Tim Burton's Batman trilogy. Burton's Batman, made in 1989, is still the second highest box office grosser on this chart, with 400 million global collection. His second movie, Batman Returns, opened in 1992 with a good response. But Burton's third installment, where he was paired with Joel Schumacher and created Batman Forever, was panned by critics for its production quality. By the turn of the century, Batman seemed to have lost his appeal. Batman and Robin, released in 1997, clearly missed the plot, just about reaching $200 million worldwide.
Batman wages unending war against all criminals.
With losses from Batman and Robin, Warner Brothers put off any further plans for the Batman franchise, even cancelling the unproduced sequel, Batman Triumphant. But with the new energy of Memento director Christopher Nolan, the project was finally revived in 2002. The idea was to make a realistic, grounded and a darker tone version of the comic strip.
It's weird to know that it's all over. I mean, it's been part of our lives, 2 years on, 2 years off, since 2002, I think we first started talking about it. So yeah, it's almost a lifestyle choice rather than a job.
Every movie that Chris has made on the Dark Knight trilogy, he's been able to keep to great filmmaking in terms of the great characters and the great character arcs. You can't rely on anyone these days. You gotta do everything yourself, don't we?
So once Christopher Nolan took on the Batman franchise, there was no looking back. But Batman was reinvented at a very high cost. Nolan went back to movie-making basics using IMAX cameras, actual sets, lots of extras, and there was a fear that Nolan's ambition overruled the budget.
See to them, you're just a freak.
While The Dark Knight boasted of $1 billion box office record, it was also one of the most expensive Batman movie made at $185 million. But for an epic ending, Nolan chalked out an even more epic budget. The Dark Knight Rises is now the costliest Batman movie with a budget of an estimated $250 million. In fact, Nolan had a budget of about $150 million for his first outing with Batman Begins 2, while Tim Burton had wrapped up the very first Batman movie in 1989 at just $35 million.
This was going to be Chris's, finishing the trilogy. Chris is finishing the trilogy. It had to be complete.
So with a higher budget, has this movie made the cinematic cut? Well, there are a lot of first-time risks.
What does that mean?
Interestingly, at a time when rival superhero movies are using 3D and converted IMAX technology to wow the viewer, Nolan has stuck to his basic formula. One major reason for the bloated production costs was the use of maximum image or IMAX technology cameras. The Dark Knight Rises is the only Hollywood movie to be shot with actual IMAX cameras, having 1 hour long IMAX footage. Though these cameras are bulky and noisy, they created larger-than-life scenes with 70mm film recording. But with only 3 minutes of film possible per roll, it's an expensive trade-off.
IMAX really fits very well if you have a large camera. You've got to think very carefully about where you're going to put that camera. But the resolution, the image quality, the aspect ratio of the frame, when shot with those cameras and then projected on those film screens that have those giant screens, it takes you into the story in a way that no other film format can.
But with IMAX tickets being more expensive than the regular ones, exhibitors believe it also makes good business sense.
From a cost-benefit analysis, we'll have to have a look at that. But yes, IMAX films are expensive to shoot, but yes, the ticket prices are higher. People generally prefer watching the film in IMAX. For example, the IMAX shows in Mumbai are absolutely full over the weekend. So people do prefer watching it because it gives you a different visual experience.
Then another major cost involved was creating the large-scale sets and shooting an actual location. The cast and crew members traveled from India to the UK to Pittsburgh to get the right feel for the movie.
The biggest challenge is just the sheer scale of the operation that's going on. You know, we've got thousands of people in the stands, we've got multiple cameras, IMAX cameras. This is probably going to be one of the biggest, most demanding visual effects sequences in the film.
To capture the actual drama on screen, Christopher Nolan minimized the use of much cheaper computer-generated effects too. So while most such movies generally have 1,000 to 2,000 effects generated by computer, The Dark Knight only has about 650 visual effects. But of course, what makes the real Batman are these cool gadgets. Continuous R&D and designing made this knight's actual shining armor. Batman's classy suit has around 110 separate pieces, is made of a special fiber mold with carbon fiber panels in the front. The utility belt and a fiber cape at the back is made of defense fabric so that it can fly easily. A look which cost an estimated $2 million. With the classy suit comes a classier ride. This Batmobile, called Tumbler, which is a must-have in the superhero's garage, is laced with hydraulic flaps, mini-jet engines fitted with mini cameras. It took a cool $25,000 to build each of these 6 versions of different sizes for shooting. But this is just one of the Batman's ride. His Batbike has guns on both sides. The Batpod, which was used in the last movie, will be seen again in The Dark Knight Rises too. But like most big movies, the backbone is the star cast, and it is a multi-million-dollar one at that. Christian Bale has reportedly charged $10 million for each part of the trilogy, along with Anna Hathaway, Morgan Freeman, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and of course Heath Ledger in the last movie, and others like Gary Oldman.
You look nervous.
All A-listers adding to the production cost.
You think this can last? There's a storm coming, Mr. Wayne.
Interestingly, while the real-life budget of The Dark Knight Rises is about $250 million, according to Forbes magazine, if the Batman was for real, he would be the 8th richest guy in the world with about $6.9 billion of wealth. Well, while you chew on that thought, take a break, grab a popcorn, but do come back as we talk about the Indian's run of the Batman. Welcome back. You're watching No Biz Like Showbiz. Well, we are on a very special journey. It's the Capes Crusaders' final act on the silver screen, and as this Dark Knight rises to capture the box office, we track down his meteoric rise with the Indian audience. Well, let's look at the Batman's Desi connection.
As the Batman trilogy comes to its conclusion, watch out for the Batman's Made in India visit in this opening scene. This desolate Maharanigarh fort in Rajasthan, which was beautifully captured by the director Christopher Nolan. But for a movie that is made at a whopping $250 million, India is more than just a shooting destination. With the mushrooming multiplex culture, Hollywood's share of our movie pie has grown to reach over 17,000 crore rupees in India. And over the years, it's also become an important market for the Batman franchise. From a mere 5 crore rupees business in 2005 with the first movie Batman Begins, the sequel raked in nearly 4 times in 2008 at 19 crore rupees. And now this last part of the trilogy is all set to break that record. No wonder then that the Warner Brothers is not sparing any effort to lure into the theatres. So don't be surprised to hear Batman speaking impeccable Hindi or rattle off his dialogues in Tamil and Telugu to attract thousands of Indians to the theatres for the 3rd time.
खाना तुम इस शहर की तबाही
मुझे नहीं पता
तुम मुझे मार क्यों नहीं डालते मारूंगा लेकिन तड़पा कर.
Dubbing is the easiest way to localize the Batman franchise and has contributed 45 to 60% of the total film revenue in the past.
Fact that the movies are being released in regional language is a testament to that people are accepting. There are a definite following of these movies in regional centers, and it's being accepted, and it is growing. It's growing in a quite rapid space.
But to be a true Hollywood blockbuster in India, it has reached to the smallest of multiplexes. And that's why producers have decided to release over 1,000 prints of The Dark Knight Rises across Indian theatres, which is a major step up. The Dark Knight was released with only 350 prints, while Batman Begins had just 150 prints. But while the theatrical business is one major source of revenues for the studio, merchandising and cross-branding tie-ups also help in rake in the extra moolah. So from Batman toys to cool gadgets and games, you have a wide range to choose from.
I'm the Batman.
Movie merchandising firm My Baby XL has already flooded the market with their innovative products.
Size of the market, it's definitely growing. But yeah, I think if you compare it with the worldwide markets, we are yet to start. And Batman per se would contribute 15 to 20% of the $10 million, which is currently there. So in Indian rupees, I think would be around 8 to 10 crores.
Consumer brands are also hoping to fly with Batman's success. Many like Nokia, ASUS and Bonville have tied up with Warner Brothers in the Indian market and launched special products to catch the wave.
Again, is also about entertainment and all. So we are targeting our N series model with this. Basically, if you have a normal growth of 15-20%, a movie like this will actually give you a jump of 10 to 12% growth.
But though these promotional campaigns help build the anticipation for the movie, the Cape Crusader has a high bar to cross. Its rival superhero franchise has already set a new box office record with its first weekend collections of 32 crore rupees. highest for any Hollywood movie in India. So we will want to see whether The Dark Knight rises higher.
So while Warner Brothers have gripped the Indian movie market pulse with this franchisee, let's see how the critics have rated this movie. Pooja joins us to talk all about this. Pooja, so has The Dark Knight been able to rise to the expectations of its audience?
Well, Devina, I really can't say if The Dark Knight Rises lives up to expectations, but you can't please everybody, can you? The UK Mail says it's more like a Godfather-like movie than a superhero flick. Now, this movie by Christopher Nolan has been co-written by his brother Jonathan Nolan. Now, in this third installment, you'll find Batman, Bruce Wayne, in hiding for a crime he said that he committed. On the other hand, you have a masked terrorist who wants to get the superhero out of his self-imposed exile and spreads a wave of terror in the city of Gotham. Now, the main cast remains the same. You, of course, have a new person, the seductress Anne Hathaway, and Marion Cotillard, who plays Batman's love interest. Now, the movie, it impresses and depresses as well. Now, the problem is with this particular film, there are too many diversions, too many subplots, and too many thrills. But as in every Batman movie, you can't miss this one.
Thanks a lot for that, Pooja. So now that the critics have had their say, let's see how the audience reacted to this movie. The few lucky ones who were able to catch The Dark Knight Rises first day, first show.
It was totally worth it. The movie was awesome. We can't compare the two villains. It's just good, too good.
The conclusion, it's epic. It was like completely mind-blowing. It's spoiler alert, but it's really good. The conclusion is very nice. I can tell many of my experiences in that. It was like I lived it in the time of Batman. It was like that.
The Catwoman is much more better than the Batman, I would say. Seeing from the perspective of a woman, you know, she has done awesome stunts. Guys, go watch it.
So clearly, the Dark Knight fever is set to rise. Well, moving on, let's check out the last week's mixed cocktail at the box office with our tradometer on Saif Ali Khan's latest outing.
Oh, तेरी! I was just thinking, क्या आप believe करते हैं love at first sight में या मैं दोबारा घूम के आऊँ?
It was a mixed cocktail at the box office last week, with Saif Ali Khan's cocktail getting mixed reviews.
मैं रोक ही नहीं पाया.
But the hype generated by its promos pulled audiences to the theatre. Made at a budget of 55 crore rupees, this rom-com has already recovered 90% of its cost by selling satellite and music rights. While it crossed the 35 crore collection at the box office in India last week, it also made an impressive overseas debut with 15 crore rupees weekend collection. But with the Batman fever rising at the box office, it'll be a tough fight to keep its coffers ringing.
We may be on the bad note today, but we're still keeping an eye out on what's happening in the world of entertainment. Here's the news that created headlines.
Seems like IPL is caught up in yet another controversy. According to the newspaper report, Royal Challengers Bangalore and Deccan Chargers have defaulted on payments to their players. As per the report, South African players like Dale Steyn, JP Duminy and Yuan Theron are yet to get their full fees from Deccan Chargers owners. While RCB foreign players like Captain Daniel Vittori, AB de Villiers and Andrew McDonald are also waiting their paycheck. Incidentally, both the teams have been put on the block by their owners. With the digitization deadline being pushed again to November 1st, Indian Broadcasting Foundation, Zee News and Star India are knocking the doors of the Delhi High Court. In their petition, they have contended that the government did not have mandate to order an extension of the deadline in the 4 metros. Delhi High Court has issued a notice to the Government of India and the Information and Broadcasting Ministry seeking responses by 6th August. English news channel NewsX, floated first by former Star India CEO Peter Mukherjee and his wife Indrani, was sold the second time to Kartikeya Sharma's ITV for an undisclosed sum. For ITV, this would provide an entry into the English news space. DreamWorks is the top contender to acquire American animation company Classic Media for $150 million. Classic is known for its popular portfolio of well-known family and pop culture entertainment brands, including Casper the Friendly Ghost, Where's Waldo, Lassie the Lone Ranger, Postman Pat, and George of the Jungle. Forbes magazine has rated football club Manchester United as the world's most valuable sports team with a valuation of $2.23 billion. Man U has already filed for a $100 million IPO on Nasdaq. Spanish club Real Madrid is at the number 2 spot with a value of $1.8 billion. There is a disturbing news from the US where two masked gunmen opened fire indiscriminately at the premiere of the latest Batman movie on Friday. These two gunmen wore a full-body armor and targeted a crowded cinema hall in the city of Colorado. At least 10 people were reported injured.
Well, time to wrap up and say goodbye. Do send us your feedback on this special edition of No Biz Like Showbiz. And as you catch your superhero at silver screen, we leave you with a tribute to a loss that India still mourns. India's first superstar, Rajesh Khanna.
Zindagi kaisi hai paheli hai, kabhi to hasaye, कभी ये रुलाए, जिंदगी कैसी है